Hello, hello. I am live and I'm hearing lots of ringing dingies from the channel, so hopefully that's a bunch of new subscribers or likes or donations or whatever you folks are doing today. So before I go too far, obviously, let's make sure that the sound and everything is working fantastic. So let me know. Can everyone hear me? Give me a thumbs up in the chat. Let me know that it is all sounding good, that I don't have any weird ringing in your ears, or that the volume level is good. Please let me know. It looks like I'm peaking a little bit on the sound. I want to pull it back a little bit because I don't want to run that too hot. So let me know if that's okay. Everything sounds good. Like I said, I pulled back the sound just a little bit because I think I was peaking there. So, sounds good. Everyone's here. We've got 12 likes, 16 viewers. I know this will pick up fast as we get going. Do not know what's going on with my ringy dingies here. I may have to turn down my sound a little bit because I don't want that to bother anyone. Make sure, let's go ahead. I don't know what that's going on. So let me get rid of that. All right, so hi, I'm Chris, and if you're new here, this is Kersey Fabrications. Thanks for dropping by. We're going to be taking a look at a brand new 3D printer, one of the few that I've accepted lately, mainly because it was brand new to me, something totally different, and wasn't the typical printer that I get requests to review. So that's why I went ahead and pulled this one out and said, yeah, we're going to do something with this, and we're going to take a look at it. I will go ahead and say that this printer is provided by Kywoo for review purposes. No money has exchanged hands as usual. They've just provided the machine so that I can take a look at it. So there we are. So usual folks in the chat, thanks Brian Vines from BV3D for dropping by and chatting up. He'll be your current moderator, so be good. I'm sure I'll have some other usuals popping in that are also moderating. We got Michael Wilson, we got SPC3D. I'm not going to be able to call out everyone. Non-Fam, James, Simon, Yoav, which I may be pronouncing wrong. My apologies. We're gonna talk it up a little bit here as I'm waiting on just the numbers to get up a little bit. It's the usual Sunday afternoon. Usually have pretty good both from Europe and from the Americas. Both North and South pop in here, so I'm looking forward to everyone popping in. We got Steven. So I hope everyone has their beverage ready. I've got my usual Georgia Renaissance Festival mug here, filled with my favorite beverage of the day. Because as you know, I do lots of talking, and that can wear on my throat. So, we're going to start out the stream the way we normally do. Kind of getting into this printer, making sure that everyone knows what we're taking a look at before we ever crack the box. Brian, drinking his chilled water, will enjoy this. And, oh, by the way, if you are looking for this printer, if you want to know more about it, at the very top of the chat, I linked to the manufacturer's webpage, which is what I'm about to check out right now. And pinned to the top of the chat, you will see the link to the Amazon purchase page in case you want to buy one of these. That's a direct link. It is a, how do I say this to make Amazon? It is an affiliate link that may benefit the channel if you purchase through that link. So take that as you will. Let's see what we're going to do here. We are going to take a look first at the I'm going to move around my windows here. First, we're going to take a look at the website for Kywoo, like we normally do. We're going to take a look at all the specs of the printer so we know what we're getting into. And then I'm going to go through my usual thing where I get it out of the box. We're going to dissect it, which is one of the things I really like to do on this channel. And then once dissected, we will put it all back together and get a test print out. So there's the schedule for the stream. You know, I try to go probably 2 to 3 hours live here. I will get the test print going. I usually leave that running for everyone to watch and come back to as they choose. Play a bunch of music while I'm doing it. People seem to appreciate that. And then, you know, when everything's finally done printing, I will come back and say hi and tell you what I think of the finished product if you're still hanging out, and if not, obviously this stream will be available later for your viewing enjoyment in your own time and at 1.5 to 2x if you choose to do so. All right, so first thing I'm going to do, let's do a screen share. And there we go. We've got the screen share. Let's take a look. This is the Kywoo 3D website. We're going to take a look at what they have going on here. So what we're looking at today, this is the Kywoo Tycoon Max. As you see, it's an X linear rail printer. This one is the Max. It's the larger build size, which gives us 300 by 300 by 230. The most interesting part of this to me, when I look at the scale of this printer, is how shallow the Z-axis is. And I'll be frank here, it's a bit of a turnoff to me because a lot of helmets, for example, while 300 by 300 would be a perfect size to print helmets, or larger models, that 230 is going to be pretty limiting because I don't know many helmets that are much shorter than that. So it's a little iffy why they made the Max version but didn't really increase the Z size. My guess is it has to do with the design of the printer, the fact that there's a lot of metal in this printer, and it would have been a bigger redesign for them to actually increase the height than it was to just increase the base. So as Brian mentions in the chat right now, it's shorter than an Ender 3, which is, like I said, kind of odd. I think that they should increase the Z height, so hopefully if they watch this back, they'll have my opinion. As we see here, they consider this an industrial grade 3D printer, which actually, you know, kind of explains the price tag. I think you're going to end up paying about $550 for this particular model, depending on where you're located. So $550, and that gives you a 300 by 300. This is a more industrial grade printer, as I was saying. Interesting here. Anyway, it does have built-in Wi-Fi according to this. It has a 32-bit silent board, silent linear guides. So you'll notice as we get into it, the bottom rail of this printer does not use. There are no V-slot wheels anywhere on this printer, as far as I know. The Y-axis is going to be the linear rods, which, to be honest, I haven't seen since my ANET days, and so I'm honestly really happy to see them again. I think it's a terrific motion system. We've got the X-axis, which is going to be a linear rail, and then we have our usual smooth rods on our Z. It does have automatic leveling. They claim it has. Okay, we're going to get rid of these. Sorry about that. I did install a plugin to get rid of these at one point, and now they're going to all pop up. Okay. Anyway, thought I had the plugin, but I'm not seeing it at the time. Anyway, so broken material detection, so it's got a filament runout sensor, and it has resume printing. So as you can see, why is that popping up? So you can see Wi-Fi functionality says that we can control it from the computer. I'm not going to have a chance to take a look at that today, of course, because that would require more setup than I usually have time for in these live streams. Easy assembly, which I'm looking forward to. It looks like it comes in 3 pieces. I do like the hot end design of this. It's very simple, but yet it is a direct drive. They are claiming you can, of course, print TPU, PLA, ABS, PETG, all the usuals with this. Bigger prints because it's the 300. There's someone else. The 3 Drucker has already done a review on this, and there we go. If you notice, this one is actually going to come with a glass build plate, I believe, but I noticed afterwards, and I really wish I would have asked them about this ahead of time, that they do have a PEI option for it, which I honestly wish I would have just go ahead and got them to send me to begin with, because that would have been a really nice feature actually to have by default on this printer over the glass. Even though I'm a glass guy who really likes glass print beds, this, you know, on a higher end printer makes a little bit more sense. I'm not going to go through all of this reedy stuff. Again, 300, 300, 230. Anything else that's interesting? So 350 watt power supply. We've talked about some of the other features. Notice it is a dual Z-axis, which is really nice. They're not skipping on the motor there. And you can see the basic design here. We've got a HD color touchscreen, auto leveling. If I'm passing by anything you want to read, obviously the links are in the description. You can see it right here. It's Kywoo3D.com. Again, as we see again here, they do have the auto bed leveling, which has kind of like a BL touch sensor right here for the bed leveling. I like this giant wheel on the front, which we'll talk about later, which makes it really easy to feed your filament, and also notice whether the filament is feeding correctly, hopefully. Let's see. Like the look of the touchscreen. It says they're using 2209s in this printer, so it should be quiet. There's the filament runout sensor right there at the top. And continue printing, and they've got a whole bunch of accessories that you can buy with it, and we're going to call that a day. All right, let me see what's going on in the chat really quick as I move things back around here. So what do we got? Yep, Octoprint's the way to go for a remote. I agree with you. Someone else has already says I've already covered some of the questions they had, so that's good. Since this is a Lulzbot clone, is it going to be just as slow? I wouldn't count on it being a Lulzbot clone. I think it shares a lot of Lulzbot design in terms of just the look of the machine, but I really don't consider it a Lulzbot clone when you look at the features of the machine. So when I first saw it, I thought the exact same thing that I thought the same things that you guys did in terms of like, it looks like a Lulzbot clone, but when you look at the features, it doesn't really seem to stay Lulzbot clone-y. Let's see. We got Asker in the chat. Good to see you. Thanks for dropping by. Is the hot end lined or all metal? Well, I think we can usually take a look at that by looking at the features. What is their max temp? Is 260, so my guess is it's lined. I don't think I will pull it all apart to find that out in this live stream, but my guess is it's lined if they're limiting it to 260. Otherwise, they probably would have at least said it would go to 300. We got Tripod. Tripod thinks it's a great machine. It is at a higher price point. So when I'm going through this today, as I mentioned, price point's about $550 when you finally take discounts and stuff out of it. So my guess is that I should assume that this is going to be a higher end machine. If I'm paying $550, as someone said, this is at the Ender 5 Plus level, which is a very large machine. I should expect more from a printer, right? If I'm going to 300 by 300, that's a large printer. It's not the largest printer, but I should expect a little bit more from it. We got dropping by. The count is going up. Thanks for everyone dropping by. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to take one more sip before I do, because that was a lot of talking. All right, so you guys hang out in the chat. If anyone needs me, you guys know how to @ me in the chat. I'll be sure to take a look, but, you know, have a good time. I'm going to start with the unboxing here. I will switch to an overhead camera shot in just a minute. Got my handy dandy knife. Let's go ahead and get going on the unboxing. Notice I'm keeping my hands out of the way, so no comments that I'm going to cut myself. There we go. It's got really a lot of tape on this box, so if you see me having a tough time cutting through the tape, it's a lot of tape. I think that this thing has been sealed up a couple of times. Alrighty. And as I promised, let's do overhead. There we go. Hopefully I won't hit my camera. Nope, not hitting my camera. Let's take a look at what I have going here. I'm not going to spill my beverage because that would be sad in multiple ways. There we go. Aha! Very nice looking print bed up. Nice Kywoo 3D logo. May I just say how happy I am to see in this printer that it is not glued to the bed so that it's easy to change out. I'm working with another printer that I'm doing a review of right now, and I can't stand it. I understand they're gluing them down to keep them. Let's go ahead and let me switch this up. I understand that they're gluing these down so that you don't have to use clips, so that maybe it's easier shipping it, but I just don't like the glue, because the idea then of removing the glass build plate to replace it with something that you prefer is daunting, especially since they're using that silicone glue. I really don't know how much work it's going to be. But this is a nice build plate. I like it. It's high temperature. It's the usual, probably borosilicate glass or whatever they have branded it. It's got the surface on it, and we have a nice build plate. I like these particularly as a person that likes printing on glass. I like these because you can use this side, but I use this side 99% of the time because it just sticks so well if you have the right adhesives. Okay. And we have the user manual, which I always use when I do these streams. It is in at least 2 languages. Looks really nice. I mean, it's a very nicely produced manual. You can tell that they actually spent time, money on making a manual that's not just a fold-out sheet, although I have no huge problem with those. But it is, looks fairly thorough, explaining how to start printing. It even has, I always love this, a board layout diagram, which explains what kind of board is in here. I think I heard from someone what type of board this was. I think it's a Robin. MakerBot, right? MakerBot? Something. You guys will correct me, I'm sure. But I think it's a Robin board. And it is running an ARM processor. So I like these. It shows you how to hook it up if you have any problems. If you have to switch it out, it will save you a ton of time. They include a nice troubleshooting guide. And they include a nice thank you, welcome to the family kind of card, which is really nice. That'll go on my mantle. All right, let's pull that over here. And, oh, well, we're greased up. That's nice. I'm going to need a rag before we're done, because I don't want that grease all over the printer. Luckily, I keep plenty of towels around the shop. All right, let's see what we've got. So, find the easiest way to get this out of here without grabbing the rods. All right, nice base. Oh, smooth, very smooth rods. It actually moves really, really well. As you can see, they have the 2 linear rods here. These are actually molded plastic pieces, which look really nice. Here's our Y drive motor. Everything metal other than these mounts. And this mount is all metal. I really like it. Flipping it over. They do have insulation on at least the center part of the heated bed, which I really like. I don't know why some of these companies, I guess they stop where the screw holes are, but I really would prefer if they would just put holes in there for the screw holes and then go all the way out to the edges, because inevitably it's going to make the outside edge of your build plate somewhat cooler than the inside part of your build plate, which is just silly to me. I like how they have a nice metal mounting plate here. I'm going to tighten that down a little bit, make sure that these rails run. Sorry, finish my sentences. I'm going to make sure that these are in place so that we don't have any problems with them running correctly. And we have a nice name brand XT60 connector. So way to go on them. Nice XT60 connector. I think that's going to connect really well. And then we have our end stop in this area for our X-axis. Just a nice mechanical end stop. The feet on here, nice adjustable feet. So it looks like you could, if you had a not so level print surface, you could put that on here. And this is not too heavy, which I appreciate. It's nice. All right. All right. Did include an American power plug, 3-pronged. Throw that down there with the 15 other ones. All right, Brian's saying he has one of these as well, but mine is looking newer than his, so I'm happy to hear that, because I hate putting up a review that's not representative of the latest and greatest. Sorry on that, Brian. All right, so it does include a spool of filament, but I will give them credit. It is spooled. This is probably a 250 gram spool, but it is a spooled spool. It's not loose filament in a bag. So this is usable. So we'll see. I might use it for the test print. I'm not a big fan of white in live streams. I think it's boring, so I still might swap it out for something else. We got our box of stuff. Let's see. It's labeled accessories. And this has our spool holder. And I've never understood this, but like in almost every shipment, one of the screws has come loose and is flopping around in the box somewhere. So that's always fun. I was going to go ahead and attach this because this is pretty obvious. So let's go ahead and just keep these two together. I will tighten this up. Tripod in the chat saying that he has 2 Kywoos and they are both great machines. Well, I cannot wait to put this one into service. Okay, so I found the missing screw. It is in the box. And so I will again go ahead and put this together so I don't lose it. Let's go ahead and take a poll. Do I have to use the tools it comes with to assemble it, or can I use my tools? Go ahead and just give me your general opinion in the chat. Let me know. Do I have to use the tools it comes with, or can I use my tools? I think it's interesting. Some people care, some people don't. So here comes a bag of tools, which is really nice. I've got the SD card in here. I've got, of course, our assortment of Allen wrenches and a nice holder, which is I always prefer. We have some belt tensioning stuff. We've got, it looks like this is a USB-C printer, which will be my first USB-C printer, which I just, no, is that not USB-C? Oh, I was wrong. I'm wrong. It's micro USB. Never mind. Micro USB, it comes with an extra end stop in case we need it, extra screws, or maybe not extra screws, maybe the screws we need. Okay, I'm getting use my tools, and then Simon says use the tools it comes with. But it looks like Simon's getting outvoted. It doesn't really matter. They're Allen wrenches. The worst I'm going to tell you is that the Allen wrenches it comes with are garbage, which I honestly have never said. I've never used Allen wrenches that came with a machine and gone, these are garbage Allen wrenches. No, they usually last long enough to put together the machine. I've got our usual snips. It comes with a scraper, which might be slightly sharpened, which I appreciate if they are slightly sharpened at least. And we have binder clips. So I'm going to throw those binder clips over there. We have a box. Jeff says it doesn't care. It's my stream. I appreciate you, Jeff. I'll tell you what, I'm looking at least 8 or 10 flush cutters that have just made it onto my backstop over here. So I'm doing good in the flush cutter department, but I do throw them away regularly. I either break them or they're a particularly garbage pair of flush cutters, and so I throw them away just because I don't want to have to ever use them again. All right, this is the heavy part. This is the guts and glory of the machine here. So let me see if I can get this out here on camera. Or am I going to have to move it off the table? Or do I need to go get a helper? There we go. Got it. All right. I'm going to put it on the floor real quick while I check the rest of the box. And then it will come up back up here on the table all by itself. I think that's it. Use the handles, Luke. Okay, I'll use the handles moving forward. Sure everyone will feel more comfortable. All right, so let's give you the money shot. Here is the front of the machine. And it's a really nice front of the machine. I really like this printer. Give me 2 seconds. because it looks a little bright for this printer. There we go. Let's see if that helps. Duh, duh, duh. Yeah, I think I like that better. All right, little adjustment on the ISO. So here we go. Yeah, exactly, Brian. Brian knows what I was doing. I was changing the ISO on the camera just a little bit. So this looks a little bit better compared to what I was doing. So this is the printer. As you can see, this is pretty much the meat of it. Linear rail here. I'm going to go to a close-up here. Let's go ahead and do that and get... That's less than useful, isn't it? Gonna get it. There we go. That's what I wanted to show you. If I can get it. All right, let's just leave it there. It looks like it's trying to do something. All right, so here's the printer. It looks fantastic. Here's that wheel we were talking about earlier to advance the filament. And we've just got a few connections here. There is, I'm going to try to show you right here. Not sure I have my camera on manual mode like I normally do. Maybe I was doing something with it. Let's find out. Maybe that was what I needed to do. Let's see. Now can I focus it on what I want to focus it on? Yeah. As soon as it stops telling me I'm in manual mode, I'll be doing good. There we go. I like that better. So as you can see, anything on this side, there's not a whole lot of going on. There's a motor down here. There is... They actually did use anti-backlash nuts, which I just absolutely love. You don't always need them from a mechanical, like, bouncy perspective. But what they do is they keep it from falling a little bit. They provide a little bit of tension on that screw, which is fantastic, and just keeps it a little bit tighter, which I like on my printers. So bravo to them for just that mild upgrade. As you can see, here's our belt. It is not a Gates belt or anything, but it feels good. And switch it back around the other way. Yeah, someone mentioned the Z being synced. As you can see, here is the Z sync belt here on the bottom. So the Z's are connected together and out of the way. Like, they're not hiding up here somewhere where you're going to nick them or anything. But let's take a look over here. I might pull off the side panel here in a minute. So this is just me showing you ahead of time. Take over here, there's a power supply. And we're going to have to see if we can get into the guts of this thing. Over here, we've got... There we go. Over here, we have our power switch. We have a plug, and we have our 230 to 115. We are still... there it is. We are still in 230 mode, which is for safety purposes. So there we go. I will go ahead and swap that while I'm thinking about it. Let's go ahead and swap that to 115. Yep, 115. And let's see what it takes to get into this machine, because I have not watched anyone do it. How much trouble is it? But you know this is part of my streams. You know I do it. Let's grab some various tools. I might end up using the Allen wrenches anyway. But let's see what I got. I don't know if the handle's going to have to come off, but we're going to find out. It's still not quite the right size. Is this one the right size? There we go. 2 screws on bottom, remove handle on top, 4 large screws on side. Brian's already done it. All right, let's do it. So let's start at the top. First, remove the glue globs and unplug the ribbon cable from the display. Wow, so many instructions, Brian. So many instructions. Okay. Well, that was easy. There comes the handle. We're going to go ahead and do the ones off the bottom next. So there are 2 right here. Boop. There we go. Boy, they used enough different types of screws. Display is attached to the yellow sheet metal. The main board is attached to the printer's frame. I figured something along those lines was going to happen. I do like it. As you can see, it's not that particularly heavy, particularly since I haven't put the bottom on it or anything yet. So I was told that there is a ribbon cable on the display. So I'm going to see about removing it. I see some sort of, all right. They didn't make it particularly easy to get to. I'm trying to figure out, is it best to remove it now? Or maybe I'll do it in a minute. We'll find out. Brian will tell me if what I'm doing is a bad idea. But I'm going to go ahead and remove these now. They're on pretty good. So Brian is still saying that mine is completely different. Brian is rethinking his entire review now. I know what's going on in his head. He's like, why is Chris's completely different? Why is mine not like Chris's? Am I going to be representing the printer? I hope you haven't already shot yours, Brian. If so, I'm helping you write your script. The life of a YouTube reviewer. As Brian said, it's good news that maybe they're making improvements. I'm curious, how long have I had mine? I've only had mine probably a couple of weeks, probably. So, let's see. Is that all I need to move? Looks like it's pretty much it. It's funny, Brian is saying that the board's attached to the frame. Did I miss a screw? It doesn't want to come off. It wants to stay attached. Okay, so I'm seeing the deal. So I do not have I don't have glue globs holding my my ribbon cable in. They actually have a, I can't get in here to show you, so I'm going to describe it. It's not a glue globs holding mine in. They actually have a ribbon clamp built into the chassis that is holding that ribbon cable. And if I can grab it just right, I'm going to be able to pop that clamp and be able to get that ribbon cable out a lot easier. But it may make my life more difficult. So it's just a standard ribbon cable, like parallel port type ribbon cable if you've been around the computer block. There he goes. All right, that was easy. Let's see. Well, that's nice. Check that out. That is nice. I like it. I just saw that Vector 3D went live. Don't everyone leave to go watch him build another Voron. I'm picking. I like Vector's work a lot. But I don't want to see the numbers die because someone's building a Voron. This is yellow. I don't know if you caught that. This is a yellow printer. So you guys stick around here. All right, so the only thing hooking up to the printer anymore is the power cable that goes to the power supply to the main board. And I'm going to do some, let's go and take a look. And I'm going to move this around. This is a weird printer for me to have to show on the stream because the components are in awkward sort of places for me. So I'm going to try to show it to you. I don't really want to unhook anything because I'm trying to make sure that nothing I do interferes with the operation of the printer. And so far the only thing I've had to unhook is the ribbon cable going to the display. So let's do this. I like this. Okay, so I don't think I'm going to be able to show you what is inside of this side. I don't think. Maybe. Let's see if that'll do it. If I get creative with my camera skills, maybe. There we go. Creativity wins. All right, I think I have everything I need in focus now. There we go. So as you can see, they actually do have a Meanwell power supply. It is an LRS 350/24, so it is an official Meanwell power supply. They do have what appears to be proper connectors on all of the cables going to the power supply. They have the power supply properly grounded to the 3-pin connector here at, I'm not going to be able to get it that low. Okay, you have to take my word for it right here on this connector. It is properly going to the connector. My only complaint is they should have also grounded that ground from the connector, or from the, at the very least, the power supply connector. They should have grounded that to the chassis. So I really wish they would have grounded that to the chassis. There's no direct AC ground. So I might add that myself because it would be a real easy one-wire fix to take that to a screw hole. You are, of course, going to have to find one that's not painted, since everything else is painted. Now, with that being said, let me be fair. The power supply has screws going to the chassis, so it's very possible that it's still grounded to that pin through the screws. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to grab my multimeter, and we're going to find out if the chassis is grounded to this pin on the power supply connector. So give me 1 second to grab my multimeter. All right, I'm back. Can you hear me? Yeah, okay, you can hear me. Good. I couldn't grab it easily. My wife is going to see if she can find it for me real fast, and then I will check that out. While we're doing that, we can check out this main board, which is right here. As you can see, this main board, you know, everyone's saying it's a Robin. This is a Robin, though, without any markings on it that I can see on the top of the board. It's pretty interesting. It's almost like they had it custom made or something. It is an ST ARM processor. As you can see, here's the Wi-Fi module. So it does have Wi-Fi on board. It has a micro SD card slot. It has onboard stepper drivers, so you won't be changing out any of those. And there's no easy way for me to tell if they're all 2209s, but it does look like that. Hopefully they're all the same. Although I think in the chat that Tripod was saying that the Z's he doesn't think are silent stepper. So we'll have to take a look at that and find out. It sounds like my multimeter is here. Thank you. All right, we got a multimeter. And let me take a look here. We'll see if we have proper grounding. I got my continuity on. Okay. Brian is also saying that they're 4988s on the Z and E. Loud on the Z and salmon skin on the E. Oh, man, I hope not. I mean, I trust you, but Okay. Anyway, let's go ahead and take a look. So I'm going to take my multimeter. I guess you can see it on the small shot there. Let's go ahead and just back to the wide shot then. So I'm going to take my multimeter on the ground pin of the connector. As you can hear, it is working. All right, ground pin, and then we're going to take it to anywhere on the chassis that we can get a connection. The problem is everything is painted. I don't think we're getting anything here. You got anything here? Okay, so that's to the power supply chassis. But since everything on this thing is painted, yeah, we're not getting, I mean, it's going to the power supply, but they didn't really give us any place to ground the chassis. So I hate to tell you, but there is, as far as I can tell, no direct line grounding the chassis, but it's all painted anyway. So we'll have to see if we get ground from the pin to this part of the chassis when I'm have everything hooked up to see if maybe all of those screws make connectivity and gives us a proper ground. But as of right now, it looks like it needs a chassis ground. Okay, Brian thinks that we will get continuity when everything is screwed together. I have my doubts, but I trust Brian, so let's give it a shot. I'm not going to scratch through the paint. I'm not at this point, because if it doesn't carry through to this part of the frame, it doesn't matter much anyway. So, and there are bare spots here for me to test on, so I don't need to scratch through the paint. So the black on the extrusion usually isn't thick enough to really cause a continuity issue. The paint on here, this powder coating, is probably enough to cause an issue. What else is there to look at? So I think that's pretty much it. I do like they've got some nice red gluing everything in place, which I appreciate. It's probably better than using hot glue. We'll have to see when I have to pull this thing apart at some point. As someone mentions, there is no ferrules. There are no ferrules on here, so they have not done any ferrule connectors on any of the power going anywhere. We'll keep complaining about it until everyone figures out that they should do it. Again, I'm not unhooking anything. I've already talked to Brian. Brian has told me that that there is solder on his printer, but I'm not going to hook mine to see if they're soldered as of right now, because again, I don't want to break anything potentially. So that is it for now for me. I'm about done taking a look at what's in the machine itself, and then we will get to assembly. If there are no questions, I'll give you a second while I take a sip of my beverage. If you have any questions before I put it back together. All right. Let me check my phone for any messages. All right, so let's keep going since there are none. We'll just put this back together real quick. And seems like it was really easy to disassemble, which I appreciate. As Brian mentioned when we were chatting earlier, the biggest problem with this printer, the way it's designed, they can't actually put ferrules on here because there's no clearance whatsoever. As you can see right here, there's zero clearance between these wires and the case. So you wouldn't be able to add ferrules to this printer either. So keep that in mind. At most, if they have soldered these connectors and you don't like the solder, which you shouldn't, then you could at least clip them and then put bare wires in, which would be better than the solder one, but you're not going to be adding ferrules. So let's pull this out of here, slide everything back together. If I can catch my face in it, because my face needs to be caught in the printer, clearly. I'm going to hook back up the cable. I have to admit, I think I've mentioned it before, there's plenty of grease on everything. Holy crap. Every time I touch any of these rods, they are well greased up, and I am having to wipe my hands on this paper towel. This is tight to get this cable on and off. Excuse me while I focus on the task at hand. Okay. Ribbon cable installed. Cable clamp attempting to clamp. Cable clamp clamped, and now I clean my hands up. Boom. Okay. Okay. Let's flip it back up, and I can get everything screwed back together. Caught the X so it didn't slam. Yeah, I don't need to do it that way. I'm not that tall. I'm not Joel or anybody, Chuck, who are apparently all much, much taller than I am. Let's see. Let's get everything going. Some chat going on about whether they are UART. Brian saying there are trim pots on all 4 of the drivers. So, sounds like Brian is potentially hinting that they are not UART. I'll let you make of that what you will. I think it'd be a good time to take a look at their firmware possibly. Obviously not in this stream, but I would be curious. Oh, by the way, John's mentioning the grease. Yeah, I'm not complaining about the grease. The grease doesn't bother me at all. I'm going to keep my hands off of all these rails and everything later. I'm only complaining while I'm trying to work on the machine. But no, I don't see the grease as a bad thing by any stretch. I would much rather have all of my moving parts greased than the alternative. It should provide a much better printing experience. Just for the record, the handles are all injected plastic, so they should hold up really nicely. Probably ABS. If I can find, there it goes. I do like the handles a lot, so, you know, kudos to them for nice handles. and 2 more screws, and we will be back in business. Probably in record time. Yeah, we're not even through the first hour here. All good. All right, and 1 more. Looking at the connectors on the side while I'm talking, it's interesting. So they've got the USB connector, they've got the micro USB connect, the micro SD card, which is directly on the board, and they also have a large normal size SD card that's on the display. And I'm curious if you can print from either one, or if you print from one, or if they put that one on the display for firmware upgrades. I guess we'll find out as we're going through this. Let's go ahead and stand this back up. Love it, love it, love it. It's still a nice looking. Oh, so we have it all hooked up. So time to pull back out the multimeter. See if we have grounded to the chassis. So pin. We're going to check out the power supply again. Yep, we're grounded to the power supply. Are we grounded to the chassis? No. 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 We are definitely not grounding the chassis to the mains. Well, let me take that back. Okay? I'm getting weak grounding. What that means is I'm not getting enough grounding to set off the buzzer. But I am getting resisted grounding, meaning I'm getting some measured voltage across, but it's not enough to be considered a wire. So it's partially grounded to the chassis, but it does show that there's not a direct connection to the chassis. So there we go. Partially grounded. It's not a strong grounding. That does mean that depending on your own particular conductivity, whether you're grounded when you touch the chassis, you could be a better conductor than the chassis is, which would be a bad thing. Beef's asking about like the grounding. Is this for electrical shock? If this is for short circuits? Not being an electrical engineer and not feeling confident enough to speak with authority, then I'm not going to answer that. I'm only going to say that we don't have a good ground from the power cable to the chassis. Whether that means, I don't think we're going to potentially have any electrical issues because there's already DC negative going to the board from the power supply, or a DC ground, however you want to say it. So I don't think we're going to have electrical issues. I'm more worried always about the potential shock hazard. Electrical problems are secondary to me just making sure people are safe. John says don't use it in a shower. I can authoritatively say do not use this printer in a shower. It's a bad idea. Don't do it. I think Kywoo would agree with me. All right, so let's open this up and get to building. I'm not going to read all the notes and all the introductions and what have you. Assembling. Apparently I'm supposed to be wearing white gloves when I do this because they show that in the picture. Let's see. Oh, but that's a good point. I like what Sean just said in the chat. You could obviously potentially short something out electrically if you are using this in the winter, particularly. If you develop a charge, you touch this touchscreen display, it shocks it, doesn't have anywhere to go, you could short something out. So I think that that's a good observation because I know particularly around here during the winter it becomes a problem. The printer out of the package box, pull the Z-axis timing belt slowly to make the Z-axis raise 15 centimeters around. So we just need to make sure it's high enough. Aha. So if we move it this way, it raises. I don't like the fact that it's thumping on me when I do that. But we'll assume that that's just because I shouldn't be doing that. But it is clicking. What is that click? I think it's just because I'm moving it faster than I should and shouldn't be doing that. So let's just do what they tell me to. Slide the base through the gantry frame from the front of the body. Please make sure the Z-axis motor is at the rear of the body. Next, fix the body and the base together using 4 M525 screws. All right, let's do that. So I'm going to do it backwards because I'm on the back. All right, this goes here. And then it looks like, do I have to do this from the back or the bottom? Looks like I have to do it from the bottom. That's not convenient, but I'll do it. How do they suggest I do this from the bottom? Ugh, I don't like it. I don't like it. All right, let's just do it this way, I suppose. Don't fall. Don't fall. That won't help any of us out. Whoop! So if you asked if it was PTFE lined, clearly yes, because it comes with a little extra piece of PTFE. There we go. Okay, it does come with a nozzle declogger, acupuncture needle, whatever you want to call it. It comes with an extra 0.4 nozzle probably. Yeah, we're going to call that a 0.4 nozzle. Comes with, like I said, a belt tensioner, otherwise known as the little thing out of a clothesline clip. And we should have 4 screws in here. I've already mentioned some of these other pieces. Nozzle, wrench. All right. Cool, cool, cool. There we go. Okay. Let's get it put together. We got 4 screws. I'm going to kind of put them in here. Real easy assembly. And let me make sure I've got the right size wrench. Need a big boy. Okay. Let's go ahead and lift it up and find the corresponding holes underneath. And once we get one of them in here, the rest of them should be pretty easy. There we go. Brian says you may need to snip the zip ties holding the cables to the frame at the bottom. I'm reading a lot of stuff. Okay. All right, I don't think I need to snip the zip ties. They look like they put them in the right place. I'm not pinching any of the wires by assembling it, so we're going to leave the zip ties in place for now. If they turn out not to be in the right place or they're too long or something, then I'll worry about it then. We'll find out. If it's not sufficient, I will do a full bed move before I pop this thing back up on its feet. All right, tighten, 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 and tighten. All right. Then connect the cable with the Y access motor and connect the end stop. All right. So it looks like we have a Y access motor right here that easily connects right here. That's not going anywhere. And then we have an end stop, which I know I saw when we were putting things together. Yep, that's up here. So that fits without any difficulty. In fact, they did come with some extra zip ties. If they fit around here, I'd love to attach it, but they don't really. They don't really. I'd have to use 2 of them, or I can grab one of my own. going to grab one of my own because they're the right length. So I'm going to go ahead and zip tie this because I do not want that getting caught. Ooh. Well, there's a screw in the way. The end stop screw's in the way. If I put that right there, it's going to hit the end stop screw. All right, so no zip tie then. There's an end stop screw. They put a screw right here in the base, and that is the screw that hits that end stop, which means if you put a zip tie all the way around here, there's a chance that you're going to catch it right there. Boop, boop, boop. All right, so I'm just going to assume that gravity will do its job and keep that down there. Let's see, then connect the hotbed wiring and the thermistor wire. All right, these two go right here, easy. I only plug in one way. There we go. And now, as we mentioned, let's make sure that we have full range of motion on the y-axis. It's a little tight when you go to the full extent, but as you can see, it still moves freely. And if we go all the way back this way, it makes it without any problem. So it looks like my zip ties are in the correct location, and I will not be moving them. Okay. And then as we've shown in picture 5, we're going to do the filament holder. So that's it for the base. Let's go ahead and put it on its front. Go back out. There we go. And then they want us to put on the filament holder to, that's a terrible picture on where to install the filament holder. But luckily we have the front picture to fix it for us. We put this on the front extrusion or the back extrusion? That's a good question. I'm sure by the time I find a photo answering the question for me that Brian or someone will be able to answer it for me. Trying to figure out where's best. So filament comes down here. So filament comes into here. So I'm going to put it on the back. Back seems to make way more sense since the filament needs to come in here. Yeah, and as I said, Brian has already answered that for me. Because Brian is ahead of me. And we're going to put it in the center. Because that makes the, well, spools hang this way if we want the filament coming down this way. I'm actually going to kind of off-center it. Although it depends on which way you want it to hang. Does the filament, it's like the toilet paper question. Does toilet paper go this way or does it go on the other side? Because in their picture, they've put it over here. So apparently their toilet paper hangs this way. So, you know what? I'll just do it their way. You know, far left, I don't know if you're talking about my left, or at the max, the Z cable. Yeah, I don't care. Like, I am going to grab a spool, though, because the last thing in the world I want to do is put it in a place and think I've got it where I want it, and then have it not be where I want it. So let's grab a full-size spool. Some nice glittery filament 1. There we go. Yeah, I like that. Let's just do it right there. Yep, I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to look in the sides and make sure that my T-nuts actually did what they were supposed to. Tighten it down. All right. We'll come back to that. And as simple as that seems, I think that's it, guys. Install the tempered glass. Well, I guess we need a print bed. Who's for just printing directly on the, where'd I put it? Directly on the metal. So, everybody ready for this? Yeah. There you go. And I'm not going to put my fingers on this, just so you know. That doesn't smell good, though. There we go. Beautiful. Okay, we're going to put that right there. And then it did come with some nice clips. And so binder clips can be adjusted as will. Be careful not to clamp the hot belt cable. And they're actually saying to put these on the side instead of the front and the back. So let's do it that way. Next step, they're saying that we're going to select our voltage. Bed size on this one, I believe I said, was 300 by 300. Check out the link in the description or at the pinned link. Either one of those will get you to the printer specs. Yep. And there's plenty of clearance, which I just love to see. Plenty of clearance on the left and right, so those are good on the sides. They tell us to set our power supply, which is great. Now they're telling me to connect the power cord. So, power cord. We're going to attach that right here. And I am going to look at these quick screenshots of how to set it up. There are instructions on how to set it up for your Wi-Fi, which we won't be going over in this video. It does come with model preview abilities, so we should see a preview of the model. Boom. Yeah. You can look at it with me. Home and auto level. So first thing we're going to do after the printer is powered on, there are 3 options on the screen page. Tool, home all, that's going to home everything. After homing is finished, press back, and then auto level. Okay. We can do the auto leveling, and then we're going to preheat. Tools preheat. Select the extrusion 1 or the hotbed to adjust those temperatures for your reference. The printing standard 200, 50, yada yada yada. While waiting for the temperature to rise, you can then place the filament on the filament holder and cut it at a 45-degree angle even. So they've included those awesome information. And then we're going to load the filament. And then insert the card, choose auto leveling test file. When printing the first layer, look at how well the model attaches to the offset, and they include an handy dandy thing about doing Z minus, Z plus, so there is baby stepping built in. That's great. And then we can start printing. So now I don't have to read that manual anymore. At least that's the going theory. Let's go ahead and set us up for the proper close-up. And my camera is crooked. And I don't fit, so that's great. Doop. Oh, why is my camera so crooked? But whatever. I'm going to get you guys settled. There we go. Okay. There we are. Hopefully you can see the display when it pops up. Let's do it. All right, any last minute comments from the peanut gallery before we go and power on? Let's see. Yep, you set the baby stepping during the print. Would be neat if the bed was hinged to tilt up. Yep. Okay, let's power on. Got a clicky clicky, we got a screen, we got a Kywoo 3D, and we have liftoff. All right, so now I'm going to go around the front of the table here after a sip. And let's get to it. I know you're not going to be able to see this as good as I wish you would because I realize that it's a little glary, but I still think you can see it. It's not a very bright screen. Let's go ahead and pull this off. Maybe that'll help a little bit. Boom. Yeah, that helped a little. Okay. So first things first, let's just go to Tool, and we are going to go Home, and we are going to All. There's X. There's Y. And here comes Z. Not the fasting home operation, but that's not here nor there. We'll get there. I'm curious if that's a real BL Touch, because it looks awfully real from the back. But hey, Brian, is it a real BL Touch? Yeah, that's a really slow Z home. Because I'm curious. It looks real from the back, but I know that the clones look awfully real these days. All right, there we go. All right, we are done homing. Now I'm going to do what they say, and we're going to go ahead and do a quick preheat. This way we can preheat them both up at the same time. So extrusion 1, which is the hot end, and we're going to say plus, and we're going to take it up to 200. All right, we're going to switch this one, heat bed, and we're going to go up to not 90, let's do 60. And we're going to let that heat up. For the record, this is an interesting display. I'm curious to know what brand these are because I haven't actually looked into it. Because it's the same display that I've got on another printer over here that I'm doing a test print on. And on that printer, I'm having problems with the display, but I won't know if I have the same issues until I actually spend some time with this one because it's a very specific problem. So nothing on that for here. We're going to watch this preheat at the moment and get that bed up to 60 degrees. Nate says I should have tested that with my finger first. What's the worst that's going to happen? It's just going to crash into the bed and I'm going to have to hit the power button. You might want to do that with your own printer though. I don't blame you, Nate. But at this point, we wait. I'm going to actually play with the camera here a little bit. Let's give you a... let's go ahead and play with the camera a little bit because I want to get you to where when we start test printing, it's a good view, but I know this is going to be a little shaky for the moment. I don't have 4 cameras. I've only got 3. So I don't have a better way of doing this than actually changing it as we go. So hopefully you'll excuse the shaky. I'm going to take it back up though, so that you can still see what's going on. There we go. I think that'll be nice. I can zoom a little bit later. There we go. We'll be ready to go as soon as it's done heating up. We're at 40 degrees. Don't think this is going to be the fastest bed heating that any of us have ever seen. But we should be all right. There we go. So David said he's having a hard time getting the Kywoo to connect to the to Cura. So I haven't tried it obviously yet. I'll have to give it a shot later. Yes, the bed was 70% insulated. The outside edge, as we usually see sometimes, is not insulated, so we don't have a full insulation, but mostly. All right, so China says I need to be very careful because I may run into a problem with us hitting one of those clips, so I will pay attention to that. Let's go ahead, now that everything's heating up though, I'm going to go ahead and switch back over. And we're going to see about that test print. So that's going to be on my SD card. Well, since they didn't give me an adapter, I'm going to assume this SD card needs to go to the main board. I'm going to put it up here. That's up here. Sorry about the logo being in the way, but it's up here, right next, right where the board is. All right, we're going to go back. We're going to go printing. Wow, that's useless. So it's going to be in one of these directories. We'll go this one. No files there. Okay. What about this one? Why don't I have files? Nothing in here. Huh. Well, that's a pain. Okay, so I will allow Brian to chime in here, but while we're waiting, now I have to put this in my PC and find out what is going on. Because apparently Brian had files. Let's see what I have. I have what looks like a config file. I have what appears to be most likely the kernel because it's a bin file. I have a bunch of bin files. Yeah, this looks like the only thing I have on it is stuff to flash the all I've got is stuff to flash the printer. All I've got is bin files and pictures. So this is only meant to flash the thing. Hey Brian, can you email me some G-code, please? Because as of right now, I would be slicing it myself. There is nothing on my SD card. They have packaged the wrong one for me. I don't see an additional SD card that came with the printer. It looks like they just messed it up. Because this means I don't have their slicer or their profiles or their manuals. I have nothing. It's bright. You can just send it to me however you think is the most convenient to you, because I don't have anything on mine. They've messed this particular SD card up. While they're doing that, I will, while Brian's trying to help me out, I'm going to go back to Kywoo's website. And we're going to see if I can find anything. Maybe they have an SD card on their website. That would be really, really nice. 3D printer, do they have any support links on their page? Okay, that works. Give me a second, guys, while actually, I'll just do it on my phone. We're going to get to it. You know how it is. Things happen. Easily fixed. All right, I DM'd it to you, Ryan. No, there's nothing wrong with the card, but the files aren't there. I've already plugged the card into my PC, and the files definitely are not on the card. Otherwise, they would have shown up in the PC, but they're not here. All I've got is flashy files. See there? Yeah, let's try customer care download. Let's see if they've got everything here. We got instructions. Here we go. Here we go. Ooh, these are new. Ground wire connect. Ooh, man, this is a barrel of fun. Ground wire connection instructions. What are these? These are printers that came without the ground wire installed, so that's not the ground wire I was looking for. It looks like everything's here. So Brian, you can send it to me, and I may use it. But let's see. Here are the models. I will download them here. Download anyway. Put it on this. No. Yeah. Let's put them here. Okay. That has downloaded. Let me go ahead and get off the screen now, because that's just going to confuse everything. Let's go ahead. Thanks for walking me through that, Lone Tech. I appreciate it, because I was looking at it, but doing too many things at once. So it looks like that they have taken care of us. So important note, if you get one of these printers and your SD card is as confusing as mine and only has flashing files, it does appear you can download what you need off of their website. Their customer care page appears to have just about every download that you would want. Lots of FAQs, lots of STLs, G-code. All right, so we good. All right, I think we're good. Let me eject this now. The printer's heated. I'm hearing it cycling now. Now I can pull it out. Okay. Well, let's see. David says they're on the card. They're just hidden in some way. So I trust you, David. But I'm not seeing that here on my side. So let's go ahead, take a look. Now let's put this in and see if they show up. Printing. Yep, now I have my SD card models. We have some bird whistles. We have a ghost. We have an XYZ. What's interesting is I did see the bed leveling one, but I'm not seeing that now. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to just go ahead with the with one of the test prints. I will do some Z-stepping as I need to get it set up, and we'll just go from there. So, is there a micro SD? Yeah, that's what I've been doing. Okay, so Brian, are you suggesting I do the 75-minute one, or that I pick one of the other ones? I'm tempted. I've seen the bird whistles, and those are kind of neat. I don't know why there are two bird whistles. So I'm actually going to take 1 second and see if I can tell the difference between the two bird whistles. I'm also curious that I did see that bed leveling print that's not showing up. Let me take 2 seconds to see what this looks like. Yeah, there's an auto leveling G-code. I bet you it doesn't like. Oh, okay. There's a ghost that's a 30-minute test print. There's a bird whistle that's a 2-hour print. So we're going to do the ghost, because that'll get us a lot faster. It looks like they've set us up for live streams, which I appreciate. So let's do the ghost. Take a look at the ghost. Well, and like Bardicus is mentioning, it's October. It's ghost print time. Let's do it. Okay, we're going to say printing. We're going to go to SD card prints, and we're going to go ghost, 30 minutes. And let's confirm. Oh, it wants filament first. So very nice on it. It says, hey, you haven't installed filament yet. All right. I know it comes with white filament, which is great for ghosts and all, but I like bright, shiny filament because it makes it easier for you to see what's going on. And this, well, it's not that orange, but it's close. So we're going to do that. Uh-oh, that was almost a party foul. So, cut that off. Let's get it in here. By the way, this is filament 1 filament. I'm going to go through the detector. I'm going to put it through the wheel. Oh yeah, that's nice. That makes loading super simple. Let's see what comes out. I'm curious to know if white filament comes out of here, demonstrating that it was already tested, or if it goes straight to orange. Let's find out. Straight to orange. I don't see any white, so I don't know if this printer has actually been put through the motions or not, or if they just put a new nozzle on or something. Let's see. No, there's some yellow in there. Check that out. So I don't know if you can see that, but there's some yellow in there. So it actually may have already been tested. There's a little bit of yellow filament. All right. Filament detection switch is not pressed. Confirm. All right, so we're going to try again because now it detects that the filament is in there. It's 200, 200. Yep. So it is just waiting to verify. I'm going to grab that little bead one more time. And while we're doing that, I'm going to go ahead after it homes. God, it's slow. It's got the slowest homing speed. Let's see if it hits that clip, since that's where it told me to put it. Nope. All right, we're going to say options. And then baby step. I'm going to be ready to go. Definitely needs a lot of down. Or not. There we go. We're already good. Okay, I'm pretty happy there. Doesn't have to be perfect. That's honestly pretty good though. There we go. I'm going to need to get a lot more close for you guys to see it. Excuse the focus while I zoom in. And then I'll get a little bit more lighting for you. Okay, let's get some more lighting. Because it is a dark boy in this corner. There you go. A little bit more glaring than I want it to be. Yeah, there's a little blob being pushed around a bit. I can get rid of it though. No, looks like it may have gotten rid of itself. Yeah, it's gone. We're fine. It's moving pretty good. Good speed. It is quiet. I'm not hearing any real noise here. There we go. All right, what is going on in the chat now that I'm happy with what we got here? Are those X and Y baby step buttons too? Let's find out. Yes, you can baby step X and Y as well. So as crazy as that sounds, you can baby step X and Y, which is probably really nice for their IDEX printer, because you're going to need to do some X and Y baby stepping if you're multicolor printing on an IDEX. So that probably is the answer there. David, on his 12 print, and I'm printing some filament spool holders that I found on Kywoo Max on Thingiverse. We got rid of the blob. Yeah, I saw it get on the stock. I don't care about it right now. Yeah, I love the wheel. Barticus is right. The wheel is nice. I dig the wheel. See, can we still see that blob? Yep, it hits the ride right there, and I'm not going to touch it because it's not hurting anybody. It's going down really, really nice. Doesn't look like it's really over extruding or under extruding that I can tell. I like this filament I use, so I have to say I'm glad I put some good filament in here. It really shows off the printer a little bit better, I think, when you use really good filament. The cooling solution's particularly interesting to me. Trying to see exactly what I'm looking at. So there's a fan here on the back that must be the part cooling fan that's then blowing down from the rear. So I find this very interesting because I've never seen anyone do this before personally. So the fan is back here on the back. It has a duct in this area, and it blows from the rear down onto the print. So it comes down this way. So that's really cool. It keeps the front nice and open, utilizes what I guess is just empty space on the back side. And that's really nice. That's an interesting cooling solution. The fan you see here on the front, that is the hot end fan, not the part cooling fan. Is it loud? So I've already got an AC running in here, which I'm going to turn off just for the sake of doing this test. And I've only got one other printer going right now in the garage. And I'm going to get close and be very quiet. So honestly, I think the only fan that I'm really hearing a lot of is the power supply. I don't think I'm really hearing anything else. Since they've kept the electronics open inside the chassis here, they don't have any extra cooling on the electronics because it's kind of open air. I mean, it can kind of collect hot air in there, but it's kind of open air nonetheless. The only thing I'm hearing is the power supply. I'm not hearing anything from this guy. Not anything I can hear over the power supply fan. So if you can hear it, that's it. It's just a worry fan sound. I'm not hearing anything from the steppers. I'm not hearing anything from the E stepper. I'm not hearing anything from the Z's when they move. I'm really happy. Yeah, it's quiet. You're not gonna, I personally would never touch a power supply fan. That's a personal belief because the power supply designers, particularly Meanwell, usually know what they need in terms of keeping that power supply cool. If you replace a power supply fan, that's at your own risk of burning it up, and particularly touching something you shouldn't. What's the weight like? Let's do it. Not bad. I like the handles, right? Handles make everything feel lighter. So I'd have to say that the weight is good. It's not light, but it's not heavy. It's a lot of metal. So it feels well built. It feels like it's got a lot of metal on it, but with the handles, it's easy to move around. I like the design overall of this printer. It's just a redistribution of how you can move around the electronics and motion system and everything to take up not necessarily less space, but space differently. It's a little bit wider. And so since it's wider, you know, it takes up less depth. You don't have a console or something sitting next to it. But I like the design. And one thing you can say about it is it's all 2040 extrusions, except for some of them which are 2020s. And it's really stable. I mean, there's no flex in this chassis whatsoever, particularly with these big sheet metal pieces on both sides. There's not a lot of motion to it. It's still printing well. Making sure this is good. This is actually one of the few cases that I also don't mind the spool holder on top. Number one, you've already got, you know, space out to the side. But because the chassis is so rigid, the spool holder on top isn't hurting anything. You're not putting a lot of stress on a chassis that just is two vertical extrusions and one horizontal extrusion. This isn't doing anything to this chassis being up here. Plus, it's a direct line to your hot end, which is really the way to go. It's a direct shot, which I really like. So overall, I'm happy with the overall design concepts going on here. We got how often do you need to grease the linear rail? Not much. If you ever notice that it's looking like there's no grease on it, you might have wanted to do it. But one thing I've noticed, they've actually anodized. You might be able to see it from that angle. This rail is anodized, which means that it's not going to corrode as if it was just a bare rail, which a lot of the times I recommend greasing them because otherwise you can get some corrosion on them. But this one you're not going to need to. So if you're not hearing any problems, if you're not getting any motion issues, if it doesn't just look dry or crusty and needs cleaning, then, you know, just keep an eye on it. It's a mechanical system. Keep an eye on it. I don't know if routine would be the way to go because I don't know how many hours you have into printing. I don't know how long that rail's been in service. Barticus says he installed the 600 watt Meanwell in his Ender 5 Plus and it rivals his Dyson. It's loud, and I'm sorry for people that have put that 600 watt on there and it's loud and it's more than they wanted. Sometimes I don't think about noise, but that's a big honking printer, and you can put a smaller power supply on it. The 500 will do the job, the 500 watt Meanwell, which is a little quieter, but I feel a lot better with the 600 watt on mine. Total newbie, this is my first 3D printer, and I was printing out of the box in 20 minutes, but it's my only comparison as I have never owned another 3D printer. Well, David, I think you chose well. Other than a couple of electrical issues I'd like to see them address in terms of actually making sure the chassis is grounded, and what was the other one? I wish that there were ferrules or bare wires into the main board, but we're seeing that on the majority of printers coming at this point. Not all printers. You'll see some on this channel that I've done unboxings of that do have ferrules, but the majority still have just the bare wires, or excuse me, have tinned wires. Let's see. Someone was asking about which lube do you use. I use lithium grease, which comes in several different forms, but you can get PTFE grease is what I recommend. Look for it in different forms. You can buy it on Amazon. or at your local hardware store probably. See, build volume on this one, as people are saying, 300, 300, 240. Power recovery, yes, it's supposed to have power recovery. I haven't tried it yet, obviously, just got mine out of the box. Can I resume a print? Yes, you should be able to resume a print according to the specs. All right. I am late to everything today. Sorry about that, Hybotics. But it's good that you joined me. Thanks for showing up. I really was looking forward to opening this printer. I haven't been accepting as many 3D printers lately. But when Kywoo contacted me, I was excited to try it out. Like I said, initially it was a Lulzbot clone that I was interested in checking out, but what I got was not a Lulzbot clone. In fact, I'd have to have a Lulzbot here to really give it a side-by-side. But I don't see this as a Lulzbot clone. Influenced by design, absolutely, but not a clone. So it's nice to have this one in the shop. It's going to be something different. Like I said, the 300 by 300 is really nice on this machine. Unless you just know you're not going to be able to, interested in printing anything larger, I definitely splurge for the larger bed, because that first time you can't print something slightly larger and you're like, oh, I should have bought the first one. You're like, okay, well, that extra little bit of money would have made a lot more sense to you. But because now the alternative is buying a new printer. The only downsize, I really wish that they would have gone taller. But that's neither here nor there at this point. If the metal pieces were not integral to the actual, if the metal pieces weren't integral into the actual machine in terms of like holding components, I would pull those off, extend the length myself by putting larger components on it, but since it's integral, I won't be doing that. That's more work than it's probably worth. Any questions while we're sitting here together, waiting on this little print? Let me know. I'm more than happy to talk about it. Boop. Oh look, that puts it right under my logo. That's useless. Guess we can put it over here. There we go. Any general questions? I'm always up for general troubleshooting. Everyone usually contacts me over socials of some sort, but if you have any particular questions you have about the channel, about printers that I've been using, please let me know. Does it have a filament runout sensor? Yes, it does. Right up here, you can't see it, but up at the top up here, there's a filament runout sensor right before it goes into this area. In fact, I didn't have the filament in when I told it to print, and it complained and told me you need to put filament in first, so it definitely works. Would a printer like this be a better choice than an Ender 5 Plus? Let me put it this way. It is not, it's probably a better choice in terms of usability. This printer, I think, is going to be easier to use, particularly for new people to 3D printing. I think it is going to be possibly more reliable, but that's just a guess. But it has nowhere near the print capacity of an Ender 5 Plus. So it's not exactly apples to apples when you're talking about this printer versus an Ender 5 Plus. It's just, the Ender 5 Plus 350 by 350 by 400. So that's a lot more build volume than this has. So if you were new to 3D printing, going, hey, this is what I'm thinking about for my first printer, should I get this or an Ender 5 Plus? I'd go, well, if you don't have to have the volume of the Ender 5 Plus, get this one. And again, please understand, I'm saying this after having used this printer for 20 minutes. So please understand that this is heavily weighted towards I've used it for 20 minutes and there's been no problems. How's the H2 from ByQ going? I don't have a lot of information on that yet. I hope to have some more soon, but I'm finishing up another review on an older printer that I took a look at. So until I'm done with that, I don't have a spot to hook up the H2 right now, so more on that later. Brian, when this print finishes, do me a favor and look straight down into the extruder and let me know if you see weird filament shavings all over the place. Okay, I'll do it. Remind me if I forget. More interested in usability. Yeah, hyperbolics in terms of usability, from what I know of this display and from what I know of how this printer was designed, I think this is more usable than an Ender 5 Plus. Yes. I don't like the Ender 5 Plus's stock display at all. I love the Ender 5 Plus. You guys know I spend a lot of time on it on my channel, but I don't like the display that it comes with. And a lot of people keep trying to keep it, and I'm just like, I don't understand. It's my least favorite part of that printer is the display. Thoughts on the Ender 6 since you've been using it? Been printing on mine for 4 days so far. Love it. So Ender 6 was replacing, the Ender 6 was replacing my Ender 5, my stock Ender 5, my non-plus Ender 5 as my prototyping printer. I have an Ender 5 that has linear rails I installed on it. It's some of the first content I did on the channel. And it has been my prototyping machine. I mean, it prints so precisely, it prints so reliably. That Ender 5 has been my workhorse for years now. And when I got my Ender 6, it's as good as the Ender 5, but it's faster than the Ender 5. And so I started using it as my new prototyping machine because it could just crank out prototypes for me of engineering things I was doing. And then it died. The firmware is somehow corrupt on the machine, and I need to try to reflash it with some new firmware, see if that takes care of it. And then I have a handful of upgrades I want to do on it to take care of some of the out-of-the-box issues that I found for putting hundreds of hours into the machine already. So in the coming weeks, you're going to see an Ender 6 video where I try to fix the corrupted firmware and then install a handful of upgrades while giving you my opinion of the printer. So that's coming up in the coming weeks. There's a exclusive for you. That's the first I've talked about it, but there we go. Any experience with the SKR 2.0? Yes, if you've kept up with me on social media, I have released firmware for the Ender 5 Plus using the SKR 2. You can check out my Facebook page or you can check out my YouTube community page and you will find the SKR 2 wiring guide and the firmware. I have not done a full video on it yet just because I haven't had time, but I did want to get that out to Patreon supporters and get that out to the community now that Patreon supporters have tested it for me. Do I plan to put the new E3D Revo on your Ender 5? I hope. I don't know. I'm not on E3D's radar as far as I know. So unless I buy one and eventually get one, it'll be a while before I have one. But if you want to ping E3D and let them know, hey, I want Kersey Fabrications to take a look at your Revo, you can do that, and I encourage that because it lets them know, beyond just me asking for it, that there's a community of people that want to know what I think. Okay. Where was I? Under Tuned by the Baby Stepping, do you see change filament feature? Let's see. Let's see. I'm not going to be able to show it to you, but I'll check real quick and find out. Options. There's a filament. So I pressed filament, and when I pressed filament, it did that, which now allows me to load or unload the filament. So yes, at any point in time, it looks like you can change filament just by clicking the filament button. So I hope that answers your question. So we're just going to go back now. Back. Resume. Okay. So to answer your question, yes, you can change filament anytime by clicking the filament button and then going back, and resuming. Now we're gonna, if there's any like gunking now, it's because I paused it. So please keep that in mind. Let's see. I'm going to flash tonight, putting on BL Touch. I have not had any problems. Yep, it'll let you change colors. There you go. Is that the new SKR 2.0? Yes, the new SKR 2.0 has no problems that I have been able to identify. It went straight into, this was the upgraded version. I went straight into my printer, installed everything, installed firmware. I have had zero problems with the latest SKR 2.0s. Is there a way to use the Ender 3 V2 screen on the Ender 3 Max? Probably so. But check out the community for more information. What slicer? Brian says it comes with Cura, which doesn't surprise me. So did we pick up nicely here? Does it look okay now that yeah, it looks fine. I was worried that I screwed up where I paused it, but it looks like it actually picked up quite nicely. So yeah, if you want to do anything with filament changes, it looks like this printer is set up for you to do that, which is fancy. That's a fancy feature right out of the box. I like it. For the record, I do hear the retractions here. I get a zzz, zzz when it's doing a retraction. It's not particularly annoying, but I hear it. So definitely the E steppers are not 2209s. I would agree with what Brian told us earlier. All right, Brian wants me to check something out, so let me do that real fast. Holy crap. Well, that's easy to check out. All right, Brian wants me to see if I am ending up with some of the shavings inside. Thank you, Brian. I will take a look. You know what? I'll go ahead and do it. I'll go ahead and do it. Let's see. Well, it's done. And for the record, Brian, I see no shavings. But I do have an adorable little ghost here. I'm going to go ahead and cut off the little pieces that were resulting from my little filament change that I didn't do. That's adorable. All right, so I'm going to pull this off in a minute. That's warm. That's warm. So Brian, no, I do not see any shavings at all coming off of my extruder. Nope, it's clean. And I'm using orange filament too. And I'm getting nothing off of there. All right, so can I take it off before it cools down? No, that's never going to happen. Here's what I will do though. I'm going to push it up. Yes, this is hot. Don't do what I do. It's warm and it can burn you. So be careful. Here's what I'm going to do though to speedy things along. Ugh, that's scraping my bed, by the way. Be very careful doing that. All right. And boom. As I said, if you're used to the PEI sheets and you want one with this printer, they have those available on their website. So if you see what I'm doing here, I'm just taking it off because it's going to cool down a lot faster. And honestly, I can go and show you this ghost a little quicker because we can take a look at it this way. Oh, that's not as useful as I was hoping. No, I can't do it with one hand. There we go. Isn't that cute? Cute little ghost. There you go. Ghost looking very nice. It comes with the glass build plate, but you can get PEI sheet with it. It is available on their website. I understand you're telling me all the ways I could cool this down, but some of those ways include ways that could potentially crack the glass that I'd rather not do. So I'm going to be very careful what I do here. This is just water for people wondering. This is a very warm build plate right now. But I'm being very careful. I don't want to crack that build plate. That would not make me happy today. Oh, Dennis, appreciate it. Thank you so much. I appreciate the super chat. Thank you, sir. And boom. Let's just look at it the way it is. I'm going to go ahead and move this up a little bit, and then we will take a look at it. Okay. That should get us there. Almost got us there. Okay. Here we go. And zoomy. That printed just about perfect out of the box. Really happy with the quality. I'm never going to get quite zoomed in as well as I want to there, but you can see it actually displays well. There we go. So it looks really, really good. Surface finish is actually smooth. I don't have any raised edges. So it actually this may be one of the first printers I've ever received where I don't feel like I need to fix the extrusion. Like the flow looks good, the steps per millimeter look like that they're tuned proportional to one another. So that is a nice little ghost. Very nice. Layer consistently looks pretty good. You can see that that's a 3D little ghost. And my daughter is going to love this print. I think it looks great in the orange for Halloween. So, there we go. Back out wide. I will go ahead and see if I can get it off real quick. I don't think I'll damage the build plate at all. And get the brim off, or excuse me, the skirt off. but it is not wanting to come off yet because it's just not cool enough. Not that this matters a whole lot. You guys can see what it looks like. Me getting it off the bed isn't going to change a whole lot. What we got going on? Razor blades will do it. Great printer. I will have to try that idea. Careful on the surface. Yep. Hybotics just joined my Patreon. Well, you, sir, are the... sir? I assume you're a sir. Well, you, sir, are the new star of the stream. There we go. That came off. So you are the star of the stream for joining the Patreon during the stream. Thank you very much. I will send you a welcome little message later. So thank you very much. I've had a couple of new patrons this month already. So thank you very much. Let's go ahead and last time, now that it's off the bed, here is this cute little ghost. And it's only going to focus a little bit. So you'll have to forgive the lack of focus. There we go. It printed great. Little loop looks great. I'm happy with that. So let's go ahead. Let's see, what's the questions? All the prints so far slide off once the glass plate is cooled. That is correct. Just keep in mind, my trouble getting that off the plate had everything to do with the fact that I was trying to get it off hot for this stream, not because the glass will pop right off once it's cool. I mean, that's just how it works. Let's see, do you have a web page for where you get them? Okay, China AI is talking about something. Why do I use glass? Because I love the finish from glass, and I actually like the adhesion for glass if you know how to get good adhesion. I use the Vision Miner nanopolymer adhesive. I have a big jar of this too. This is just one of their sample bottles, but go check out visionminer.com. Vision Miner nanopolymer adhesive, really, really good stuff. It works fantastic on glass. Let's see. Cool key ring. I like it. Thank you very much, Hybotics, again. Flex steel plates is greater than glass. That's great. I'm glad that's your opinion, Beef. All right, so I think we're done. I think this has been record stream. We got done in about 2 hours here. I give these folks at Kywoo credit for making a printer that was easy to put together, like super easy. Like 4 screws, a couple of wires, and you're done putting this together. So kudos to them for coming up with a design that's easy to put together. Kudos to them for including a sliced model that allows me to test the printer on a live stream in 30 minutes. Just unheard of. And can I ask more 3D printer manufacturers to do this kind of thing for us? Yes, this is not a complicated model. Yes, it doesn't fully show off what the printer can do. But I don't need to do that in a live stream. You're not getting that in a live stream. So thank you to Kywoo for doing this. As you saw, I had some problems with the SD card not coming with all the files that I needed. But as we found out, they were available on the website. Easy peasy, went there, downloaded what I needed to do, and no problems there. Hopefully you won't have that problem. Let me think, what else is there to talk about? The electronics seem good. It is, like we said, it is a Robin board. It has the X and Y steppers are silent steppers, so you're not going to hear anything while it's moving in the X and Y direction. You're probably never going to hear much in the Z direction because the Z just doesn't move that much if you're not using Z-hop. I heard a little bit of retraction and extrusion sound when it did a retraction, but it wasn't loud or annoying. The cooling And hot end fans are not noisy at all. The loudest fan I've got on this printer is in the power supply. Speaking of the power supply, it is an authentic Meanwell 350 watt power supply, so it is not cheap, crappy, light power supply that some manufacturers include. Again, I'm just rattling these off as I think about them. They're in no particular order. 300 by 300 by, what do we say, 240, I think, is a terrific X and Y size, a kind of head-scratching Z size. I know why they did it. They already were at that height on their stock model, so that's what you still got, because they already had metal. You know, great to them for including a bigger one, but I'm going to do a little research on, like, helmets, because, like, I don't think this will fit in 240. Maybe I'm gonna have to try. I'll play with it. I'll see if I can find a helmet model or something that'll fit at that scale, because you know, that's so close to being way more useful. Built like a tank was what I just saw Tripod put in the thing, and I agree. Moves well, built-in handles, heavy but not too heavy to move, and the handles make everything easier to move. So, downsides, and I don't usually end with downsides, so this won't be my last word. But as far as downsides, the only thing I could think of was the grounding. The chassis is not grounded as well as it should have been. There needs to be a ground wire from that plug to the metal chassis, you know, with some bare paint on here so that you can ground to this piece, and that grounds to this piece, and that we have a ground that goes all the way around. I will probably go ahead and come up with a way to do that for mine, just because I like it to be safe. And as we said, you don't want to touch anything, create a little electrical spark that shorts out your display or your main board or something. That would be very sad. Other than that, obviously no ferrules, 10 tips most likely. I didn't get to check that out because I didn't want to pull apart the main board, but we see that all over the place. I don't think that's not letting them offer that, but just know if you buy a lot of these printers, they're doing that still. Kywoo has a video on YouTube for grounding. I'm going to check that out. Tripod says that there's a video on YouTube for grounding. As we saw, the firmware is kind of nice. I'm not a huge fan of touchscreens most of the time, but if they include everything I need, that's great. As we saw, this makes it really easy to change out your filament, which I really like. The baby stepping, X, Y, and Z. Don't know why you need all of them, but there you go. Like the design, like the construction. I think they're really onto something here. I like the hot end design. This has been one of the just best out of the box examples of a very simple direct drive extruder. It's not fancy. It doesn't try to do anything crazy. It doesn't even have gearing, I don't believe. I think it's just a 1-to-1 ratio, but it's good. China says thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you all for being here. You've been a fantastic group in chat today. I'm going to give you guys a few seconds to ask any questions about the machine or about me or the channel or whatever you got going. And then we're going to sign off for today with a shorter live stream. One more big thanks to Kywoo 3D for sending this over to me. And I'm going to find a place in the shop for it. I'm going to spend some time with it, find out what kind of prints are really good that I can print that are possibly a little shorter but maybe wider, find a good use for this kind of machine. Again, one more second while I take a sip. If there are no questions, I'm going to assume that I answered everything. Let me look at one thing real quick. So if you're curious, the music at the top of the show today, I is one I get off of a service that I pay for the channel. The song was by Sonic Spark, and the song was called All Right Come Over, or excuse me, All Right Come On, and it was the instrumental version because I didn't need words. So that's it. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for the chat, the super chat, very much. I appreciate that. And also, thank you for the Patreon support. If you guys need anything from this stream, always feel free to comment later. Let me know what links you need, that kind of information. If you want to join my Patreon, that link is in the description. If you need to send me a message, all my socials are in the description, as well as my email address. And I think that's going to be it today. As usual, I'm Chris. This has been Kersey Fabrications, and I am going to play you out with the same song that I played you in with, and I will see you next time. That one.